Can you hear me? You are all welcome to this event that is organized by Womankind in partnership with our partners from Uganda and from Kenya. With us today, we have our partner from Uganda first, Helen Kezie-Nwoha, who works with Women's International Peace Center in Uganda, that plays a key role in women's peace building, movement strengthening, and well-being and self-care of women human rights defenders. You are welcome, Helen. And we're also waiting for Jen from Kenya, who works with PolyCom, which is also a partner of Womankind for many years, who also be joining us today. She'll be with us in a few minutes if she's not already with us. Who works mainly in Kibera, one of the biggest slum areas in Africa, and mainly works with women, but specifically with young women and adolescent girls. So we did organize this webinar titled COVID-19, the Women's Movement and Innovate and Inspire, specifically to provide a platform to have a peek in what our partners are doing, especially in Africa, but we also, as Womankind, we also have partners in South Asia, specifically in Nepal. And so this is an opportunity to hear firsthand from the work that these amazing women's rights organizations are doing in their countries during this difficult time that we are all experiencing of a global health pandemic that has increased or excavated the issues that women's rights organizations are working on, ranging from increased violence against women and girls to increase the vulnerabilities around livelihoods of women and girls, to a lot of issues affecting women human rights defenders as they try to continue doing this work even during this difficult time. And so we will hear from two partners as just an example of the work that women's rights organizations and movements are doing across the world. As some of you might know that engage with Womankind work, we have 48 partners across in Africa and in Asia. And this is just will be an example of what the partners are doing across, but also specifically what women's rights organizations and movements are doing during this time where we have been a widespread of lockdowns as a way of containing COVID-19 virus, but also that has meant that women's rights organizations and movement have to adapt to the way of working. Some of these organizations haven't been working a lot virtually because they engage with communities at the local level, at the national level. And so in situations where we are not able to have that physical interactions, we are going to hear how they have had to adapt to actually be able to carry out that work, which doesn't come automatic. As we all know that women's rights organizations are least underfunded, they are the most underfunded organizations, even though we know that they are leading progressive and life-changing work, but yet they remain underfunded, and especially in the area of core support. So it is not easy for them to wake up and adapt to new ways of working because that also needs resourcing. And we are going to hear firsthand from them on how they still continue to do this work. As the Womankind, we also had to adapt very quickly and find ways of supporting our partners during this difficult time, where we have started creating a fund specifically called Resilience Grants, which specifically is supporting women's rights organizations to be able to adapt quickly and continue doing their work, whether it is lifeline kind of support with their communities, whether it is being able to adapt to new ways of working, such as virtual working, or ways to continue holding their governments accountable and monitoring the ways through which governments are coming up with response plans, but also the recovery plans in a way that is gender responsive and is centering the rights of women and girls. And so we have done a first phase of that resilience grant that have gone to about 9 partners, and we are continuing to do that so that we can reach as many of our 48 partners as possible, so that we are able to be useful and support them to be able to continue doing the crucial work that they need to be doing at this time. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Jen. Jen is already online with us, and I'm going to introduce her before she takes the floor to speak about the work that she's doing in Kibera. One second as I introduce Jen. So Jen is a Kenyan activist for peace and for women and girls' rights. She's director of PolyCom Development Project, a community-based organization in Kibera area in Nairobi, Kenya. Jen initially began her organization as a project in 2004 with the goal of promoting self-appreciation and worthiness among adolescent girls. Through her work within Kibera, Jen is involved with the several international organizations working towards solving issues of violence against women. In 2011, Jen received an outstanding leadership award from Women International Network called Women Win. Congratulations, Jen Anyango. And we are going to be hearing from Jen on her work that she's doing of working with girls on facing sexual violence, which is such a sensitive issue, as you all know, but Jen and her organization have found a way of encouraging girls to be able to speak out, to be able to discuss these issues and find solutions going forward. So we are going to be hearing specifically on that work that and innovative ways that Jen and her organization are doing to be able to advance and protect women's rights, and specifically young women and adolescent girls. You have the floor, Jen, my sister.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dina. It's my pleasure to present before all of you today. And so it's very chilly in Nairobi, but I'm happy to be part of this conversation. So are you going to share the slides?
Okay, so a bit of housekeeping. Alicia should be able to be turning the slides for you. She's going to share the slide and you only be telling her to go to the next slide. Also, if you have any comments or questions, dear participants, please do share them with Alicia and she will be able to read them out. But also, if you simply want to speak that question out yourself or make any comment, please just let Alicia know and we will call on you when time comes for questions and answers. If you're not speaking, please mute your mic so that we're able to listen to each other well. Great. Alicia, are you able to share the slides, please?
Hi, Dina. Yes, I have actually shared, the slides, so I'm hoping that people can see Jane's presentation.
Yeah, it's very small. Is it? Oh, okay. I have it now. Thank you so much.
Great, no problem.
Yes. So as Dina has mentioned, my name is Jane Anyango, and I founded PolyCom Development Project together with a few women living in Kibera. So it was about women, Kibera women getting together to empower themselves as they better the lives of girls in Kibera. Please go to the next slide. The first slide. Yeah, so PolyCom Development Project, we say we are an innovation-driven women empowerment and girl child welfare organization. We focus on empowering women and girls to take charge of their lives and manage it positively. And here we are talking about women and girls living in the slums. So we started in Kibera, but right now we are in other slums as well, meaning women in other slums consult us to be able to do the work that we are doing in Kibera in their other regions. So we envision a country where women are empowered, liberated, and confident, and are contributing effectively to the development of their communities and the country at large. And our mission is to empower young women in Kibera through access to education, sports activities, and sanitation, to be able to manage their lives positively, and to develop a voice to influence policy on issues that affect their lives. Please go to the next slide. So right now we are present in five different slums in Kenya. We are in a slum called Mathare, Mukuru, Kiambio, and Kibera, of course, and another one called Korogosho. We are also in Mombasa, which is the second largest city in Kenya, and also in Kisumu. So we're also in rural community, that is a place called Homa Bay County. And the way Kenya is that we live in cities, but we have our rural communities. So at times we are drawn back, we are called back to our communities, or when we go back to the village, we are able to identify the challenges that women go through, and we get ourselves working with them. So basically, we work on adding value to organized groups. So we don't really start groups and say that now these are the members of PolyCom. We try as much as possible to work with women who are already organized, or institutions like the girls, we work with schools. So we reach girls through schools. Next slide, please. So about the talking boxes, it's an innovation to listen to girls' voices through anonymous notes. So we make boxes, we install them in schools and lock them up, and we encourage girls to write whatever they want to share and put in these boxes. So we are able to collect these boxes and organize forums for girls based on the issues that they raise through the boxes. We're also able to understand when girls are in trouble, when there are issues in their schools, and we are able to engage the teachers in different conversations. We're also able to attend community forums and be able to tell parents about the issues that their children experience every day. So currently with the Talking Boxes project, we are present in 50 schools in Kibera only. Next slide. So we started working with Womankind 2 years ago. That is in 2018 is when we met Womankind. And with Womankind, we are working with 20 schools in Kibera. So we map sexual harassment, and we are able to collect data on violence at the adolescent girls phase and young women, and we are able to put them in some database and generate reports and be able to. So we are envisioning that if we are able to get this very positive organized report, then we can use it to influence policy or maybe change on policy on issues around sexual harassment. The way we know it is that people are only keen when we are talking about defilement and rape. But from the conversations we have had with girls, we have noticed that many girls, like, they see it coming. They see people looking at them, staring at them uncomfortably. You know, people try to touch them, people try to even abuse them, but it is not an issue until they are really defiled. So we are trying to bring it up, like we are trying to bring it out that this is a big problem in the society. And if we are able to come up with stiffer measures for perpetrators of sexual harassment, then maybe we are going to reduce the number of cases of defilement and rape that we are experiencing every day. So we also work to equip adolescent girls to be able to identify and report sexual violation. So we have a graphical representation of different forms of violation, and we teach them to understand them so that they are able to see and report on them. We engage teachers and other relevant stakeholders as champions in advocating for the rights of adolescent girls. So, you know, it's everybody's responsibility. So we try as much as possible to attend meetings, to organize meetings with different stakeholders, including teachers and parents, to be able to understand and be able to protect our girls. So we have also been able to amplify the voices of young women in the Beijing Plus 25 review. And from what most of us know is that the voices of young women is not really visible in the Beijing Plus 25 conversation. So we got funding from Womankind, and we were able to organize these powerful young women to bring out their voices in various platforms, not just within Kibera, but in Nairobi, and we were also able to attend a regional meeting in Addis with these young women. Please go to the next slide. During this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, what have we been doing? So we have been providing masks, detergents, sanitizers, and gloves to the girls, and mostly the Beijing plus 25 queens, who are always out there in the community trying to do different activities. So in Kibera, people depend on others. We really rely on others, and the issues of social distancing is a bit of a challenge, and even hand washing is not something that is very common with the people. So we are trying to create a lot of awareness in the community, and we are working with these young women called Beijing plus 25 queens to be able to disseminate information and do a lot of work in the community. So we're also mapping sexual harassment in public spaces. So we have developed flyers which we are distributing everywhere and getting people to understand sexual harassment so that they're also able to act and still to report when they see cases of sexual harassment. We've been able to distribute sanitary towels and even food stuff to different groups of people, to households and even to adolescent girls. And we've also been able to engage various stakeholders within the community and beyond the community. We have been organizing these Zoom conversations, like we've done them. I think we have had around 4 right now. First, we were talking about menstrual health, and the last 2 we have been talking about sexual harassment. So we've also managed to organize for more talking boxes for data collection within the community. Like the talking box you're seeing on picture is a talking box within the community. So the mentors are able to take the boxes to strategic areas. And after they've distributed the flyers, to get the people who want things to share to be able to share. And mostly we are targeting girls. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, what is ongoing right now is that we have the flyer that you're seeing there, where with different forms of sexual harassment, which we are distributing everywhere, and we are encouraging people to report cases of sexual harassment. So we have these boxes in the community where they are able to share the cases, whatever they do share, and the young women are able to go to, they man these boxes because we have not installed them. The way our community is that you don't just install anything anywhere where people are not able to take care of it. Otherwise, they can be vandalized. So we've been able to try to train the community to be able to report what happened, where it happened, and who it happened to, and in case there's any action that was taken as a result of that. And then the next picture you're seeing that we have a wellness program where these young women are able to organize themselves. Of course, we are observing the rules that have been set by the World Health Organization on social distancing and no body contact when we are organizing these wellness programs. So the young women, and these are the Beijing plus 25 queens and the PolyCom staff, are able to organize for their exercises because people are really drained in this community. People are so closed up that people don't know what to do. So we are having the exercises that they are able to do the exercises. We have online conversations on nutrition. We have conversations on mental health. And we're just trying to take care of ourselves as we take care of others. And then we also have these snap meetings where girls just organize themselves and come to the office. Like we have encouraged them that if they feel there's anything that they want to share with us and they want to have a conversation right now, because we are not able to mobilize them through the schools, then they just organize themselves in groups of 10 and come to the office, and then we organize forums for them. We're able to talk about sexual reproductive health. We're able to talk about life skills. And most of these girls are really bored in their homes right now because the houses are very small and the parents are there. Mostly the parents are not going to work. We've had a lot of reports of many cases of people who are positive, COVID positive from Kibera. So many people have lost their jobs. People are not ready to get people to work for them. And most of Kibera people are manual laborers. So many people don't want them in their homes because they think they're going to infect them with COVID. And as a result of that, the houses are too stuffy for the girls, and they end up roaming everywhere in the community. In fact, we had reports of very high numbers of girls, projections of girls who most likely have been impregnated during this time. So we've stepped up our actions, and we encourage these girls to come here in groups, and we're able to have a lot of conversations with them. They're able to share with us their worries through the talking boxes. In every conversation, we have the talking boxes. So that is actually what is going on in the picture that we are seeing down there. Next. So the plans that we are having is that when we open schools, we know that we are having so much going on in the communities today. The girls have faced so many challenges. I know they've also really messed up. So we're going to give them the space to be able to share, and we want to expand this particular mapping to all the 50 schools that we are partnering with. Right now, we're having a few things we're doing with most of these schools, but with our partnership with Womankind, we are only in 20 schools. So we hope that we'll be able to expand, like to be able to talk to all these schools about sexual harassment. So we're also thinking of getting a way of facilitating these queens, the 50 queens, to be mentors to these adolescent girls. We have girls who don't speak when they are in groups. They really want their own space to be able to speak. This can only happen if we have enough mentors to be able to reach out to them. And the challenges our girls face, as I've mentioned, is that they have their challenges at home. They have challenges within the communities, and they also have challenges within the schools. So they need people to be able to talk to. You know, mothers mostly don't have really that time because they are really very busy looking for that, how their children can survive, and they don't have a lot of opportunity to be able to talk to them. We're also looking forward to having more community engagement programs. Like we were just having a conversation with our local radio station the other day, and we were like, you know, through the radio stations right now, with the social distancing conversation we're having right now, it's very important for us to be able to have a special program for the girls. And we're already looking at, you know, that girls' hour, where we just have the girls go there and share. We also have these young women sharing about their younger sisters and the challenges they're facing in the community, and calling upon the members of the community to be able to support them if we really want to have a good society for everyone. So we also want to strengthen the girls' leadership programs. We call it the panel, where we are training girls to be speakers, and we're still training them to be able to mentor other girls, because we are having a lot of opportunities to be able to speak to the media, to be able to attend other programs with the partnership with other organizations. But at times our girls are not able to express themselves well. So we want to step up this opportunity of mentorship for these girls to be leaders, to be able to speak for themselves. And of course, we're still looking forward to collecting as much data as possible. Next slide. So this is my last slide, and still it's an open space where girls are sharing their contents. And we have our teardrop banner, if you can see it, courtesy of Womankind. So those are the mentors. That is a Beijing plus 25 queen, if you can see her t-shirt. And she has her mask, but this little girl doesn't have a mask. She doesn't even understand the need why she's supposed to have a mask. And that is why all these community outreaches are very, very important. Otherwise, I really appreciate the partnership we have had with Womankind. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to engage these young women, because, you know, they are the future. They are the people who understand these adolescent girls more. They are more like their big sisters, and they can freely share. So I really appreciate the opportunities we have had. And as usual, what we are saying right now, we urge people to stay at home, ensure that they wash their hands, use the masks, to ensure social distancing, and to seek medical help when they think they are not very well. And at home, we are encouraged to take hot water, lemon, ginger, honey, garlic, and bitter herbs. You know, we are told that someone is trying to convince us that the virus is a little scared of this bitter stuff. So we are trying to take them to scare the virus away. Otherwise, last slide. Thank you so much. That's it from me and PolyCom Development Project team. Thank you. Back to Dina.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much, Jen, for sharing with us such inspiring work that you are doing. Actually, we should be the one thanking you for being at the front line, and for really telling girls that you work with that they are beyond the circumstances they find themselves in, that beyond sexual harassment, beyond sexual violence, they are leaders, and they are mentoring other leaders. And that's such a powerful message. And for being on the front line, even at this time, and looking out for all the girls that you work with. You know that you are also very good at connecting community work that you are doing with the girls, but also engaging in the policy spaces, like you have mentioned your work around Beijing Plus 25, which actually has a standalone specific area of concern that looks at a girl child. And I know that it is through your work and other organizations that focus specifically on girls that their voices are able to be heard in policies, in policy spaces, both at the country level and the regional level, for their issues to be considered in policy making as well, which is extremely key in finding sustainable solutions. So thank you so much. I also know that here in Kenya, you are engaging government also extremely, very actively to bring out the voices of girls and what government need to do, including talking on radios. The other day, the program that you are hosting with the girls, and it was fantastic. So for me, it's to say thank you for the work that you are doing on the behalf of Womankind and all our partners that we work with. Shema, stop. Okay, so this is like child care and practice being combined with everything that we are doing. So be patient with me. So on this note, I would like to invite my sister Helen, whom I have worked with for many years, met in the corridors of African Union and corridors of African governments, trying to push the agenda of women's rights forward, and really such a great honor again to collaborate at Womankind. So I'm going to introduce Helen first before she starts making her presentation. Helen is a feminist peace activist, a women human rights defender from Nigeria. She's currently the executive director at Women's International Peace Center. And the center is a feminist organization that focuses on promoting women's rights in conflict and post-conflict settings. Helen has academic background in gender and development, in gender and international development, with over 18 years of experience working on women's rights, gender, peace building, conflict resolution and governance in Nigeria, in Liberia, South Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo, Burundi, and Uganda, where actually the center is. She has led peace advocacy efforts at international, regional, and national levels, specifically in Africa and Asia. Over the years, through her feminist peace activism, Helen has supported women to be active in peace building and post-conflict reconstruction process, including supporting the women human rights defenders in conflict and peace conflict settings. Yeah, so yes, definitely, Helen and the organization you are working with, we know that you are, you know, that you're actually really a key player in advancing women's rights and gender equality. And we know that as Womankind, we have collaborated in areas of movement strengthening in Uganda and beyond in the region of Africa to really, one, reflect on movement strengthening and what that means in terms of solidarity for women to push a common agenda, but also really thinking about the well-being and the self-care and collective care of women human rights defenders. And so I invite you to share with us, you know, the power of that in terms of self-care by speaking about the bespoke curriculum that you have worked on, and specifically the issues facing women human rights defenders and how you are working especially during this difficult time to overcome those issues, or at least to support women human rights defenders to go through this period. What you are doing and what you think needs to still be done. So you have the floor, Helen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dina, for those kind words of introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. And maybe good morning and good evening, you know, from wherever you're connected. I'm very happy to participate in this panel. Thank you very much, Womankind. We've been your partners for, I think, almost 10 years, you know, so it's been a long while. The Women's International Peace Center, from the time of being ICIS Women's International Cross-Cultural Exchange up until this time. So thank you very much. The Women's International Peace Center, as Dina said, is a feminist organization. Our focus is, our vision is to ensure that women live in peace and recreate peace. So we really, really value and appreciate how women define what peace means to them in terms of women who are living in conflict situations, but women who are also in post-conflict situations. Our work is to ensure that we ignite women's leadership to be active in peace processes, and there are different kinds of peace processes. And in terms of feminist peace, we are advocating for women to begin to create their own tables, their own peace tables. So our work is based here in Uganda, where we do most of our work in northern Uganda, in South Sudan, in DRC, Burundi, and in Nepal. Those are the countries where our work is focused. This afternoon, I'm going to be speaking this way. I will first talk about the bespoke curriculum that we developed with support from Womankind. Then I will discuss COVID and women human rights defenders. And I will share some of the things we are doing as an organization. And then I will just share my reflections on what is then needed in terms of supporting women human rights defenders. So the curriculum we developed with support from Womankind is something that we thought was needed. If we need to build a movement, a feminist movement, a movement of people who can actually lead transformative change, then organizations need individuals who are strong enough to sustain the work of the organizations. Organizations are as strong as those within them. So it is important that we focus on the individuals. Many times we focus on building institutions, but we need to focus on the individuals within that institution. And why do we do that? The work that women human rights defenders do challenge power. It challenges the status quo. So there's a lot of resistance in terms of transformative change that we want to achieve. So supporting individuals within that organization would mean that you need to understand the relationships and the key elements that these individuals bring to the organization and the way that the work within the organization is then being implemented to achieve the visions and the missions of these organizations. Well-being for women human rights women human rights defenders is important. Without it, individuals as well as organizations involved in this work, they find it difficult to cope with the trauma. Sometimes the work is demanding, is challenging. If we listen to the example that Jane was just sharing with us in terms of the work she's doing at the community, it takes a lot. And many times, if women human rights defenders are not supported, they get discouraged. Sometimes they suffer post-traumatic stress disorders, and this then impacts on the work that they do with communities. So many times, we need to do more than than just supporting organizations to pay rents or, do those activities, to focusing on the individual. I think I'm now in slide 3. I wasn't mentioning that you should move. I thought you can move as I speak. The curriculum we developed practically has activities that enable different groups of women human rights defenders to adjust to what they need in their own context. This is because we come into activism as women human rights defenders in various ways. Some of us come, because of personal things we have experienced in our life struggles. For some of us, we have come because we have been faced with violations. We are survivors of sexual violence. We are survivors of gender-based violence. Many of us have come to push for policy change. We have come to push for legal address to what women human rights defenders and the community experience. Some of us have come in as legal and policy advocates. So we have. Some of us have come as administrators in organizations. So we do have different things. Some of us come in because we are able to engage with communities and make changes. We can speak the language, and some of us have come because we are passionate about the change that we want to achieve. So many of us have come in a way that we want to reinforce the change that we want to see. And some of this work that we're doing is deeply personal. It's personal, and many of us take it to heart, and therefore it affects our well-being. But no one ever asks about the well-being of women human rights defenders. Everyone cares about those people. So you can hear Jane talk about the girls, sexual violence and all those. No one is asking, Jane, how about you? She talked about herself, but you see that it's just one sentence about her taking care of herself. So that's what we do as women human rights defenders. So the reason we developed it is to promote feminist leadership, to have that understanding that feminist leadership is also about collective well-being, that we need to take care of ourselves. We do that because we need to strengthen the way that we do things, the way we are co-creating with our partners, with the people we focus on. But in doing that, we must be healthy as feminists, as people who are doing the work. Otherwise, how do we do that? But providing that space for us to discuss our obstacles, share strategies in terms of how we are dealing with those obstacles, and see what works and what we they basically focus on feminist leadership and wellness, and we call it self-love. We say self-love because you cannot give what you don't have. You need to love yourself to be able to show that love to people you claim to be fighting for their rights. So within that conversation we use storytelling. People talk about their life experiences in this work. We interrogate beliefs and practices of wellness. As African feminists, we also don't want someone to come from outside and define what wellness means to us. We're defining it from our own perspective as African feminists, as African women human rights defenders. So some of the other things could be art and writing therapy. We support women human rights to reflect on the work they do, to write appreciative notes to themselves, and many of those, that's what the guide does. So the goal for us at the end, if you move to slide 6, is that we need just to have an understanding of what the realities of leadership and feminism is in our own context. We need to reimagine and co-create models of feminist leadership, question the practice of feminist leadership, unpack wellness and the dominant ideas of what wellness is. So we want to be able to conceptualize it ourselves and then practice it ourselves to be able to get that kind of healing and support that we need. And also look at the cultural context and the models of wellness. In our communities where we grew up in Africa, we see that women, our mothers, our aunties, they have support mechanisms, when things happen, when there are deaths, when there's a shock within a family, and how they usually will come up together to support each other. We need to see how we practice that as feminist organizations, as movements, and be able to develop it as something that we can use. So, that's what we want, because in this work, we need support. We cannot do it alone. So I will now talk about women human rights defenders and COVID-19. Of course, with COVID-19, violations against women and women's rights didn't stop. What it has done is it has escalated it. It has given up, it has shown all the vulnerabilities that women and young women have in the countries where we are working. So what we are seeing is a pushback on some of the gains that we have made on women's human rights. You hear the stories about the number of girls who have been pregnanted, the number of girls who are going to drop out of school. And what does that mean? If we are going to review Beijing, if we're going to be reviewing almost all the instruments that we have. So the kind of policies that the lockdown has put in place to be able to contain COVID is actually contributing to increasing women's vulnerabilities, but also showing that some of those inequalities that existed, is then just being shown, is being escalated, and this is impacting on communities, but it's adding on the work that women human rights defenders need to do. So once this lockdown has happened, a lot of the women human rights defenders had to come out, to respond listen to Jane, you have to immediately adjust your program to begin to sensitize communities to look at your target audience to say, how is this going to impact on them? Government talks to everyone together. No one is going to say, oh, this lockdown is not for young girls because they are out of school. We need to look for something to do for them. Government doesn't do that. So what you have to do is to adjust to see how your target is able to adjust and also fit in and survive within all the lockdown procedures that we are seeing. So at a time like this, is a time that we need then to pay attention to these women who are at the front line. How do we support women human rights defenders like Jane to continue the work they are doing? Things have changed. We used to go to the office and work. Now we are all locked down. A lot of times, women human rights defenders and their organizations do not have enough core support to even say, okay, do you have a laptop to go home with? Do you have internet at home? A lot of them are accessing internet in the office, So being able to adjust to enable women human rights defenders to work is something that we need to pay attention to. And a lot of times, we've seen an example with Dina. You are in a webinar. You have to continue your role. You have to take care of the children. You have to do your report. How do we then make sure that despite the multiple roles that women human rights defenders are playing, they are also productive in the work that they are doing? Donors are not going to, I even hear some donors say, hold on until we know what is happening before you do this. Some are saying, don't pay your staff salaries because they are not doing work. So many organizations are struggling. How do you really blame someone for being locked down? And then you're counting time. You're saying, okay, how much time do you, so how do we enable women human rights defenders to do this work they are doing, to respond to the needs of communities, but also to deal with their own individual well-being and the needs of their families and the needs of their children? So I'm just going to share, what we have done as an organization. So we are working from home as an organization, and I know that many women human rights defenders are working from home. So what we did was to discuss with some of our partners, who then allowed us to buy laptops, to buy airtime, to buy internet, for our colleagues to be able to work from home, to have these webinars. So now we're having online meetings, we are having online trainings, we are having online conferences, but also think about women who are in conflict situations, think about women refugees. You can't do online conference with a woman refugee or online training. She doesn't have access to internet, she doesn't have any of those. So we're also finding ways of engaging with them at the community level, just like Jane is doing, while maintaining social distancing, while making sure that they have, the personal protective ways for them to continue to engage. I think that we are also enabling flexible working time. So I have a colleague who can't work during the day because she has like 3 children to take care of. So she works at night. So I can't call her because I know what she's dealing with during the day. The schools are not open. So flexible time, and we have had well-being session for our staff, which I think is very important, that all organizations should ensure that they have well-being session for their staff. Many women human rights defenders are struggling. They are struggling to keep up to pace with what is happening around them. And also to be able to negotiate with partners. Dina talked about the fact that, flexible, adjusting budget and enabling women human rights defenders to do their work. But also we're learning as we go along. We're learning, and we adapt as we go along. Things will change. We don't know. Everyone is learning from COVID. What we need actually right now is to support women human rights defenders to adjust to new ways of working while remaining productive. We also need response grants, for example, that has been provided, by Womankind. They have 48 partners. They've only given 9. So imagine that the other 30-something are still waiting. Probably there will be help coming from somewhere. Also, the fact that we need to continuously advocate for women to participate in any COVID response planning and post-planning mechanisms so that they're able to bring into the space women's needs and perspectives, so that we don't continue to discriminate against women, and other parts. And just to say that in the response that we've had us in Uganda, and there's been a lot of focus on poor people, but we know we have other vulnerable groups. We have LGBTIs, we have women living with disabilities, you know. Yes, we know that they are poor people, but within these poor people, there are also others kind of. So the fact of lack of intersectionality in the way that the response is happening is also adding more burden to women human rights defenders who are working with these groups. Dina, I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Helen, for that, and really for reminding us the realities on ground in terms of what women human rights defenders are going through, but also some of things you're hearing from donors that, of course, we always think we are in this together. But if they tell you, let's see how this looks like, then you start questioning, are we in this together? So I think as donors also is to reflect, or anyone who makes grants, we also make grants at Womankind, to reflect at exactly how we make sure that whatever resources we have can be useful, can be timely, and can meet the demands and the needs as women express them. And if we can be guided by that, I think we would actually achieve more impact in the lives of women and girls that we all work towards changing their lives. Yeah, and we know a lot has been happening in the space. But you know, Helen, you touched on Womankind being made available just a few grants. Actually, I think it is more than 9. I think it's about, yeah, I think I gave a wrong number, but I think about maybe 15 or something like that. But I have good news to everyone listening that our board met last week and approved more funding to the tune of £500,000 to go to our partners to be able to continue adopting. And this is flexible resources to enable partners use these resources as they see fit in terms of what their needs are right now in front of them. And that is possible only because of the support that also we get from our supporters in the form of flexible funding. We can't give flexible funding if we don't get flexible funding, for example. And my call, of course, to everyone who resource women's rights organizations is really to think about our funding models and what makes a difference. And I think we have a lot to learn from this current context of COVID-19.
Yeah.
And so on that, I know you want to say something, Helen, but I want to invite all the participants, if you have some questions, Alicia, I don't know if you have received some questions that you want to share. This is the time to either share your questions or comments directly by speaking, or you can write them down to, I see there's also question and answer chat box, so if that can also be used, and Alicia is monitoring that, and will be Helen and Jen will be able to answer those questions. But Helen, you want to say something?
Dina, I was just going to say thank you. That's good news from Womankind. And thank you so much for always being flexible, adaptive, you know, and responding, you know, to the needs of your partners. Thank you so much. It's much appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for the work we are doing. So do we have, do you have any questions, Alicia?
Yes, we've had a couple in the Q&A box, which is brilliant. So the first one from Najina is, it's very inspiring to see your passionate work and to see very strong women leaders. How much involvement have you seen from the other gender? So to what extent do men take a role in this movement?
Okay, can I answer that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we've had, in fact, we also organize forums for men, because when we're talking about sexual harassment, then mostly men are seen as perpetrators. So when we were having our Zoom conversation the other day, we had a man on call as a panelist, of course, and we had several men joining to be able to like understand well what it means to seduce and what it means to harass. And it's always a very, very interesting conversation. And when some men also ask that, you know what, then how do we seduce these girls? Because anytime, if we talk to them, if we call them, if we do what, then you think that we are harassing them. And we're also able to explain to them that, you know what, we have minors and we have adults. So you should be able to draw your lines well. And this is how you're able to communicate. So the conversations we have had as an organization have been very, very successful with both genders, because we don't point fingers. We know that it's everybody's responsibility to end sexual violence or sexual harassment. So far we have everyone on board.
Is there anything you wanted to add, Helen?
Well, this particular topic is a bit, I don't like to engage in those debates. I really like when I'm in a conversation discussing women's rights to remain focused on women's rights. I see sometimes a lot of diversion when we start talking about male engagement. You know, I've not heard about how many boys who have been pregnanted during this period. Yesterday, I had about 80 girls where. So while we are involving them, I really like it, the way Jane is talking about it, but I don't really want to prioritize that issue about how are we doing male engagement in this conversation. If it is in conversation to get them to know what they are doing and to stop, yes. And I think that when men engage in feminist and women's conversations, they should do that in a way that they give up some of their power, because we know this whole thing is about, you know, power relationship. So if you're not able to give up some of your power to be able to allow transformative change, then I don't even think that, you know, this conversation, many times, you know, we are seeing all these things about how do we engage men. Let's engage them in a way that we challenge the power relationship between women and men. And I will stop there because it can take us a whole day to debate on this. Thank you very much, Dina.
Yeah, thank you so much, Helen, for that. Yeah, and just to add that it's men that are in majority of leadership positions. They have the power to actually make a difference, and they can use those spaces to talk about women's rights and advance gender equality. And they don't have to occupy the women's movements to make a difference. Yeah, but I like your point around, you know, talking about transformational power relations and the male dominance that actually is the main problem, I think, in terms of issues that women are facing. Do we have other questions?
Yeah, I'm aware that we've only got a few minutes left, but we've had a really great question come in, so hopefully we've just got a few minutes to explore that a little bit. Louise from our fundraising team asks, as the pandemic continues, what challenges for women and girls do the panel foresee, and what responses will be needed?
Okay. Yeah, talking about girls in Kibera, or women in Kibera, I'll just say that still we're going to have a lot of people taking advantage of the girls. Because as I said before, is that the house is so stuffy and the parents are not able to keep the children in that small house. So they are left to loiter everywhere. They are always everywhere. And if we don't have spaces where these girls can go to and be able to get people to talk to them, then we are going to have more girls getting pregnant. Because right now people are also scared to go to the hospital, because if they go, they're going to be tested for COVID and nobody wants to go for quarantine. So they end up, you know, they're just out there everywhere. And as someone has also asked if girls are shy to use the talking boxes in the community, the girls are not shy. The way PolyCom operates in this community is that we are known to love girls. We are known to give spaces for everyone. So it is not negative. It is not just about reporting sexual harassment. It's about expressing themselves. It's about sharing, you know, the challenges or everything that they go through every day. You know, a girl can just come into the talking box and tell us, you know what, I'm so happy today. At least my mom appreciated me when I washed the plates. You know, something as simple as that. But because it excites her, then she's able to share. So the way the talking boxes have been organized, nobody can be shy to approach it or even to associate with us if we are in the community.
Do we have any more questions as we wrap up, or should we wrap up now?
We've got one more question from Flo from the fundraising team, which is just a smaller question, Jane. she asks, in your experience, have girls felt nervous approaching the talking boxes within the communities? And is there an understanding amongst boys and men about what the talking boxes are?
Yeah, thanks so much. I think I answered that a bit. The girls are not, they don't feel nervous coming to the talking boxes because it's their space. They have it in the school, they have heard about it, and they can always come to the office to talk about it. And by the way, the talking boxes have had a lot of publicity in our TVs and even in the radios. So they would even love to be part of the talking boxes. And yes, it was a bit tough, especially in schools with the boys. In fact, they would vandalize our boxes or even put a lot of unnecessary stuff. I just fill it with a lot of unnecessary stuff. But we managed to get, we have a few young men who are able to do conversations with the boys. And now they're able to, they respect that space. They understand that this is a space for girls and we don't have to raid this space because at the end of the day, these are their sisters. You know, and you know, we are all working for together for a better society for everyone.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll stop here for questions just because we have to wrap up, right? Alicia, we've come to the end of this this webinar. And I just want to ask Helen and Jen if they have anything they want to say as their final word in closing before I give my thanks to all of you. Helen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dina. And just to say that we need to continue to have this conversation, but I think we need to continuously support women human rights defenders like Jane to continue this work that they're doing, particularly in this time of COVID. I think this is the time that we need to see that we have support, you know, to be able to ensure that we protect the rights of women and girls. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jen?
Yeah, thanks so much, Dina, and thanks Womankind for this great opportunity. And what I want to say is that lack of engagement of young women is a waste of resources, especially in a community like ours, where we have so many young people who have finished their schools and they're just idling in their communities. So if there are spaces where we can engage these young people, please let's expand our scope. Let's be able to bring everyone on board and let's be able to develop structures that ensure that we are able to reach everyone and to engage everyone. Otherwise, thank you so much. Let's keep up the spirit.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much to our great speakers, Helen and Jen, for joining this call and for being able to share the work that you are doing. We don't take it for granted. We know that something had to give for you to be here, especially sharing the kind of demands that are on your plate. But you know, and really for us to remember that these services that you're providing are supposed to be given by governments, but they are not available. And you step in to provide these services. And so this is something that you are bridging a huge gap for us to be able to move even any slight progress on advancing women's rights and girls' rights. So thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for your time. We are really honored at Womankind to be partnering with you and your organizations. To everyone who made this call, thank you so much for making the time. We know this is such a busy period, so thank you for making the time to join us and for all the support that you keep giving us. We do appreciate that as Womankind, and it really is a sign that we are in this together, that we do share a conviction and a vision of advancing women's rights and gender equality. So that's something we appreciate. And to the team that organized this webinar, the fundraising team, Alicia, Leah, and everyone, thank you for that. If you have any further questions after this webinar, please do share them with us and we'll be able to respond. If you want to also get in touch directly with Helen and Jen and their organizations, please do let us know and we'll be more than happy to share their contacts if you want to follow up directly with their organizations and the work they are doing. So on this note, I will stop here, and I remember that I didn't introduce myself. So my name is Dina Musindarezo. I'm Director of Policy and Communications at Womankind. Yeah, so thank you. It has been such a joy to facilitate this conversation.
Thank you also, Dina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.